Scarbrough.
Thank you. Hola, buenas noches. It's really heartening to see such a young crowd here. Some of us have been doing this shit for a long time. And we think young people don't care. We're like, you know, those millennials, they just look at their phones. No. Thank you for being here. It makes me feel great. I'm leaving things in good hands. I was born in 1947 in Los Angeles, California. I'm one of the few native Angelinos. There are not very many. My family was working class, and so we lived in a neighborhood that was about 50% Latino. So I was always very comfortable with brown-skinned people speaking Spanish. In the early 60s, we used to go dance in a small bar, and the bar band was The Doors before they were famous. And I got a scholarship to go to University of Southern California, which is a very expensive private school, and suddenly I was keeping company with the privileged children of the power elite, like Ivanka Trump. And that was not comfortable at all, especially because USC was a rich, wealthy, white island in the middle of the black ghetto of South Central Los Angeles. And when police brutality caused the community to erupt in violence, there were Confederate flags flying over some of the fraternity houses. That's when I first heard the call. It was the 60s, it was the summer of love, it was the height of the civil rights movement, the stirrings of women's liberation. So much to my parents' horror, I eschewed the party of Lincoln and the bitter manifestos of Ayn Rand, and I became a liberal. Since then, I have fought for many causes. I have worked on many campaigns. I have written books about indigenous cultures. I have some with me, and they are available on Amazon, UK, and you don't get one from me tonight. And I moved from Hollywood to New Mexico. I've lived in Santa Fe for the past 10 years. It's a glorious, culturally rich town, really enthusiastic about Native American culture. It's full of music and dance and art and sunshine in the summer and fall, and in the winter it's freezing cold with ice and snow, and there's nothing to do if you don't ski or snowboard, and I don't. So being from Southern California, that winter wonderland novelty wore off pretty fast. And the past 5 years, I've been traveling 6 months of the year to warmer climates. I wasn't actively looking for a new home, but it was kind of in the back of my mind. Last year, I came to Spain for the first time, and I loved it. I loved the weather, I loved the wonderful, friendly people, I loved the food, I loved the wine, I loved the music, and mainly I loved the joie de vivre. After 6 weeks, I went back to the United States, and I was struck down with horrendous food poisoning in the Dallas airport on a 7-hour layover before I even got to Santa Fe. And I said to him, I think the United States is making me sick. So I had a strong intuition that I should move to Spain. And I started researching how to do that. So as I was slogging through the retirement residency visa paperwork, the presidential campaign was unfolding. Now, Santa Fe is a liberal enclave, and I didn't even know anyone who supported Trump. But as a citizen or a resident of New Mexico, I had to submit my visa paperwork at the Spanish consulate in Houston. So I drove across Texas. And during that, I realized that in any gas station, diner, or bar, I was the only person who was not voting for Trump. So I saw the two Americas. It was not a pretty sight. Of course, I had seen them before at USC and in my own family. I have two sisters. neither of whom have a college education, both of whom are suburban Republicans, and I think they voted for Trump, but I don't know for sure because they haven't spoken to me for many years. My observation of the two Americas is that it's really two different worldviews. There's the people who are basically very frightened and fearful, and that gets acted out as in a mean-spirited way. And then those are conservatives. And then there are people who support other people who are caring and compassionate, and that gets acted out in a liberal way. I think compassion will win ultimately, but I think there's going to be some pretty rough stuff going down for the 99% in the meantime. Anyway, Trump won the election, and I heard the call loud and clear, and it said, "Get out now." I had good intuition about moving to Spain, and I was able to get the visa around the end of January. I was spending the winter in Los Angeles, where Santa Fe, after the election, became like sort of a cesspool of desperation and despair, and then Los Angeles became a mix of the stench of depression and toxic auto exhaust. But so I was in Los Angeles. I got the visa right a few days before my 70th birthday, and so by pure chance, one of my LA friends went to a charity event that was very crowded, and she had to share a table with people she didn't know. And so when her table mates were introducing themselves, one of them said he was a reporter for El Mundo, the Madrid newspaper. She said, "Oh, that's interesting. My friend is moving to Madrid." He said, "Really? Because we've been wanting to do a story about people leaving the country because of Trump. And we haven't been able to find anyone." So she connected us. He interviewed me. He took pictures of me in the airport getting my boarding pass, going to Houston to pick up my visa. The story ran in El Mundo on my birthday. It was immediately picked up by newspapers in Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Puerto Rico. My inbox exploded with Facebook messages and Facebook friend requests, and suddenly I had Twitter followers. 4 different television news crews wanted to meet me at the airport. I declined. But since then, I've been interviewed by La Sexta, Antena 3, Univision, Radio Aragon, the CNN in Espanol. And tonight, Paco from El Mundo is here. Introduce yourselves to him later. So I hear the call again, and this time it says, we are in the right place. We can speak to Europe as American citizens who love their country but not the current government. Spanish people, some Europeans, South Americans are listening, and they're interested in what we have to say. We have a different perspective. We understand the wider international implications of what's going on. This is really a unique opportunity for us to express the compassionate heart of America. We are the real America.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you.